Shoyo's been a diva player for such a long time, and that was kind of where his bread and butter was. Yeah. So now that he's required to move on to other heroes, it has shown a bit of time to learn. But
it's sort of like Adam in a way, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. And we can see now both teams rolling out. There is going to be a lot of DPS on the comps. There's going to be a Tourbillon for the side of the Melbourne Mavericks, and there's going to be the Sombra for the side of the Sydney Droppers.
Well, let's see what Boy and Morbu can do. The two new players coming through for Melbourne Mavericks from North America. Oh, that was almost a good boot from Winter, but just not quite able to knock the players far enough. It's a bit of a crossfire setup here with Winter above, Nayang across to the side, and as you can see as well, Shoyo behind on that Sombra, causing a bit of an issue. Again, another attempted boop, another close one, but just not connecting. Still a lot of damage being done here by Winter, building that rock barrage up pretty quickly indeed. Nice hook goes through onto Dreamer, but he will survive. Another attempted boop, this time again not able to knock anybody off. The only loss for this game so far has been the Immortality field, but immediately Shoyo will pick Mercedes before that, and well, it's just a flood on the kill feed now, isn't it? Melbourne Mavericks losing players across the board. QVN is at least going to be able to peg back one, but now that Winter's able to get a little closer on, he's going to connect all of these rockets. Somehow survive on 2 HP. 4 but a moment, Zicky Boy with the turret.
Terry's the turret. Yeah, Terry the turret taking him down, but you saw as soon as the drop bears got in those positions around, you know, they can't protect 360 with that Orisa shield, and now we've seen the swap up from the Melbourne Mavericks. They'll delete all 6 ultimates, so they got 20% of the capture point, and now they've decided they'll go play a different game, essentially. Tracer comes out for Mercedes, QVN swaps over to that Sombra, and this looks a little more comfortable for me. They came out with a bit of a silly comp, got the point, but now it's time to play into these ultimates for the Sydney Drop Bears.
Mostly boys going to drop straight away tonight. It's a better start already for him this week. Didn't really see too much from the Widowmaker in his hands, but now we do find at least an opener in this fight, which again should probably be enough to force Melbourne Mavericks back 5v6. You don't want to commit. That's going to need another 15% on the board for Sydney Drop Bears before the real engagement is going to even come.
Yeah, and they only used the infra side there from the Widowmaker to win that fight, so now they have a plethora of ults, the EMP, the barrage, even Dreamer's going to have his coming in.
For that barrage indeed, it's Winter. That in his possession. Dreamer tries to jump onto the point. Piledriver actually looks good, straight into the EMP. Rocket Barrage, no need for that at this point. The D-Max come across, it's essentially a 4v6. Mercedes will hang off the edge. The grapple not able to help him out there, but enough work has been done by the rest of the team.
It's another ideal fight for the Sydney Drop Bears too, only using the EMP, so now they have just more ults to come in here, and Melbourne Mavericks, they haven't even built their own. They're struggling to do anything at the moment. They're kind of just spectators in this game.
Spectators in this season perhaps as well. Smash 75% up.
It's getting into one fight territory, and these players haven't even gotten close to getting an ult yet on the side of the Melbourne Mavericks. QVN and Issy Boy is going to be the closest, but will they be able to use them?
Well, Might straight down there from Dreamer. I don't think that's going to cause too many issues for Melbourne Mavericks, but the Bionade certainly will. Excellent stuff coming from a Kraken. Again, I sort of singled him out before the broadcast started and said he needs to have some good moments, and there's one. That'll be enough, I should say, to win the first round here on Nepal. And Sydney Drop Bears go through 100% to 20.
It's a bit more like the Drop Bears of old, and they'll be hoping to keep that form going for the rest of the series. They'll start off strong and maintain that pressure and that level of play throughout. Mercedes now swapping over to the Farah. So this is a point where we have seen a lot of DPS. We haven't seen a lot of 3-3, which is kind of strange, because when I think about this point, I think about it being a very good 3-3 point, just because there's so much cover and there's so much room to hide in. But teams staying away from that and moving more towards the DPS compositions.
On the same token, like it's quite an open point in a way where there are angles to take from both sides, and there's nice spots to set up the Widowmaker. Obviously the Farah is fairly uncontested and has cover to play around with as well, so I feel like it can kind of play into that as well. Regardless, we are going to see, I guess a bit more of a 3-3 kind of a setup from Sydney Drop Bears, although it's, I guess, really 2-2-2 now that I look at it. As a dive composition, Melbourne Mavericks, they've got obviously the DPS. 4, in fact, DPS, which is quite strange.
We are seeing QVN on the Widow and not Mercedes, where we saw first week. Issy Boy already dropping dangerously low. Crimson Wolf 2. Now he gets caught by the Bionade, but he's very far away, and QVN's going to go down here. It looks like no, he just escapes.
Just gets the heals. Shoyo not overcommitting to that quite smart because the hack came across, but he does get back to the safety of his teammates. Mercedes will be the first to fall. That to the snipe of a Kraken on the Ana. Definitely something to be aware of. Joker trying to do his best here on the Wrecking Ball, but also has to back away. His teammates falling around him. Sydney Drop Bears will win another fight. This time they start off with the cap in their favour.
Yeah, they're not going to be looking to give this one up easy. It's going to be hard for the Melbourne Mavericks to get anything done with this composition. I don't know where the synergy lies. They throw out the EMP, but there's not going to be much to follow it up.
Oh, here comes the change from Melbourne Mavericks. They're going to essentially mirror Sydney Drop Bears now. Griswold does have a slight advantage as far as the EMP is concerned, but Pulse Bomb is way ahead for Winter, so he might be able to find the pick before this fight starts.
That's what they're going to have to rely on, really, these Pulse Bomb picks. But I suppose Cubion is still on the Widowmaker, so maybe he can get a clean shot. But he's going to get pincered by these two flankers and Dreamer, and that's a nightmare situation if you're a Widowmaker player. There's nothing you can do there.
Well, Mercedes and Winter just having a bit of a backwards and forwards. Just seeing Cubion swapping off onto Brigitte.
Definitely think that's the correct pick from him to shut down these flankers. He's a bit outclassed by players like Winter and Nyang, so maybe swapping over to that Brigitte pick and shore up his backline and give the fight advantage they need. EMP comes out from Crimson Wolf. There's no follow-up.
Yeah, hit 3 players, which is not too bad. Eventually does fall, so there is enough of a follow-up to say, okay, there was some value brought from it, but Nyang do with his own EMP, well, that's going to connect straight onto Issy Boy, who can absolutely do nothing on the Ana, and that's certainly a better execution by Sydney Drop Bears than what we saw from Melbourne Mavericks. 3 players go down. Sound barriers thrown in there as well by Fluoro, which, to be fair, they probably didn't need, but also, to be fair, the match's probably over at this point. 94% coming up on the board for Sydney Drop Bears. I think this is going to be 100-0. There will probably be a contest from Melbourne Mavericks. Nope, they can't quite get there. Joker doing his best, but Sydney Drop Bears going to get the 2-0 here on the poll.
That felt like a very fast, comfortable 2-0 on the poll for Sydney Drop Bears. Apart from that first fight on Sanctum where the Mavericks were able to clutch up on the low point and bunker up, but even then they were picked apart so quickly and just vacated the point. Didn't get to build ultimates up, didn't get to use ultimates, and when they did get to use ultimates, it didn't get much value off it. Very fine start from Sydney Drop Bears though, they look good.
Yeah. Seems to be the same symptoms really being shown by Melbourne Mavericks in that their team cohesion isn't quite there. The compositions that they're running are a little bit off meta in a way, and when they are kind of closer to the meta compositions that you would see being played, again, the execution isn't quite there as a roster. Yeah, sure, they've had another roster change, so you can give them that week or a week or two to sort of mesh again as a team and be able to get that coordination going. But by that stage, we're into week 5, we're into week 6, you're down potentially 0-4 or 0-5, and the chances of you getting through to playoffs are looking decidedly more slim.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the roster they need to work on and just remain with for the rest of the season. If they try and make too many more roster changes, they're not going to have the time to build synergy to get anything going. So this is the bed, and they've got to lie on it.
Yeah, it's an interesting composition as well of players. There's 3 of them coming from North America, Mercedes, Morbid, and Issy Boy. So you kind of hit the import cap there for Melbourne Mavericks, but it's so interesting to me because I look at these players from North America, and obviously no discredit to them at all, but I feel as though there's a lot of players within the Australian region right now that are good players in their own right, you know, and it seems kind of strange to me to bring players from North America and bring them into a roster in Australian Contenders when there is a wealth of talent right now within AU Contenders.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a little strange. I mean, teams have opted to bring in imports in previous seasons. Drop Bears, Warriors, they both, you know, have some imports, but they've got Korean imports, and they've got, which are better time zones, so the scrims line up a little bit better. It's a bit easier to integrate into the roster. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's the way that the Melbourne Mavericks want to kind of build their team and build their team around. So that's, you know, if that's what they think is going to work for them, then go for it. But it's something that we haven't seen yet, North American roster.
Oh, we'll see how it works. Yeah, we've seen a fair share of North American players. Obviously, Chrono being probably the one that everyone would have sticking in their mind at this point, and he's got a season of Contenders under his belt in Australia, actually being the champion. But for these guys, for Mercedes, Morbid, and Issy Boy, it's their first time here, as far as I'm aware. And I mean, it's an interesting team to join as well, I suppose, in the Melbourne Mavericks, you know, coming from another region to join a team that's at this point 0-12. So they must believe that there's going to be a way that they're going to be able to turn this team around. So,
well, it's a good thing, right? You come into a team and you turn it around, then you look like a superstar.
Well, exactly. There's no sort of expectation for these guys, I guess. There is that. So even if it kind of this experiment, I say, kind of fails, then that's not really a big deal in a way.
No, of course not. I don't think they'll be too upset. The only way is up from here if you're a Melbourne Maverick.
Yeah. But that's the same really for Sydney Drop Bears. They've kind of fallen as far as they can fall, I would say.
Well, I'd be very surprised if they fell any further, let's just say that.
Exactly, and that would be pretty disastrous for Sydney Drop Bears, especially given the name that roster possesses. It's such a big name in Overwatch Contenders Australia. But
I'll take one of those.
Yeah, I'm sure I would too at this point. I'm pretty hungry. I think one of those is a vanilla slice. That one on the bottom
Yeah,
right.
the bottom right. There's a
That's
little
vanilla
like a
slice.
custard tart there in the middle.
Danish tart, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, maybe, yeah.
Don't know what these pink ones are.
I think they're, I don't know, but the macaroons, I think they are on
yeah.
the second.
There's
On the second round, the croissants.
croissant.
Croissant.
But anyway, what is that? That's just
It's
normal
just bread.
That's a breadstick. Forget. All right. Well, we've figured out what's happening. Anyway, see what's happening for Melbourne Mavericks. They're on the attack first.
They're on a 2-2-2 as well.
Mercedes both playing DPS.
Knowing QVN, I've seen him play a few seasons of Australian Contenders. It hasn't been super successful, but one of the heroes that he has been stuck by with is Sombra. He's played that a lot, probably the most played, maybe Brig second most played, but I like to see him on that. So if Melbourne Mavericks can set him up onto the Sombra, I think that's their best chance of winning. But just as I say that, they do swap him off to the Widowmaker. And they've kind of countered themselves though. They've swapped onto this funky DPS composition into the Sydney Drop Bears, who are playing a composition that does very well against DPS.
Yeah, what a hack onto Joker there for Niang. It's just going to build him up to 50% of the EMP. He's just dancing around the back as well. Just has to translocate out before he gets into hot water.
I can completely understand swapping to this DPS composition on the Melbourne Mavericks. If you see the Reinhardt or you see like the Zenyatta Reinhardt variation of 3-3 on the Sydney Drop Bears side, but you don't. You see the Ana and you see the Winston, and those two tiers are better at dealing with DPS than their counterparts. So this is a very strange composition pick for me.
It's not really a fun time for QVN at all when the Sombra appears behind you and just lays into your head. Not much you can do about it. Niang's built up his EMP now, so the going gets even, I would say, easier for Sydney Drop Bears once this next fight breaks out.
Yeah, and with Winter getting close to that rally, it makes it very difficult for him to go down. He can play very, very aggressive into this EMP. Show you're dropping very low. QVN takes him out with the body shot.
Well, that's the start that Melbourne Mavericks need. We'll see if they can capitalize on it. They do get Niang. QVN, he's popping off and managed to get the headshot. That's there to 2-for-2 trade now, and it doesn't look like QVN's going to last too much longer. The dive comes through. Izzy Boy, if you're going to try and get a res there, it was actually Morbid. Regardless, it doesn't matter who it is, they're dead at this point. Sydney Drop Bears, they lose the first player, but they quite comfortably win the fight.
Yeah, they lose the first two, but this is what I'm talking about with this composition. This Winston can go just buck wild. He's got nothing really to stop him. He gets hacked is like the only thing that can stop him. There's no Discord for the damage amplification. There's no big shotgun heroes on the side of Melbourne Mavericks, so he just runs wild. And if you let a Winston run wild, he's going to do a lot of damage.
Joker doing the pendulum. He's got mines available. Pile driver in. Does that EMP hit much? No, only Fluoro, but maybe that's the player that you want to hit, actually. Mercedes 3 with the rocket barrage, and it could be enough for Sydney Drop Bears to finally fall on this point, unless Dreamer's able to do something magical with the primal rage. He's going to pick up the health kit by the looks of things, and Winter's still alive on the Brigitte for how much longer, I wonder. As Dreamer falls to QVN with the Storm arrows. It does seem as though Melbourne Mavericks will be successful in taking point A. It doesn't take the longest of times.
No, they get 3 minutes off the clock with the side of Sydney Drop Bears on the defense. Melbourne Mavericks managing to combo their ults very well there. They got the EMP, they got the rocket barrage, the nano boost. They all put it together and it came for a point capture. Now, looks like they're going to be swapping off. QVN throwing the dragon onto the point from downtown. We'll get nothing, but
as you would expect, I'd be worried if you got something there, to be honest.
well, you can see Dreamer taking a lot of damage there just to build up the ult charge on a Kraken.
Yeah, that's really smart.
So yeah, they knew this. It didn't look like it had translocated down, pulling an Atom actually, in fact. Sydney Drop Bears now will be comfortable with the reset. Dreamer will swap over to the Reinhardt to match Joker on the Melbourne Mavericks, but they'll have an ultimate advantage here, Sydney Drop Bears.
Massive ultimate advantage. You've got Graviton Surge.
Yeah, and they'll want to win this fight with just the Graviton Surge. Try and build up Dreamer's ult, build up Winter's ult. Those ults build very fast in a Graviton Surge if you're sitting there whacking everybody.
Looks as though Melbourne Mavericks are going to funnel right in, and that might even be a six-man grab. I don't know how many are in there, but it seems to be all of them. I think it might have been. Shoyu actually gets a kill with the Graviton Surge onto Crimson Wolf. You don't see that every day, but Well, that's exactly how that fight was intended to go for Sydney Drop Bears. It could not have gone better.
Yep, perfect. Dreamer builds up half an ult, Winter builds up about 60% of an ult. That's how you want to play it, really. Yang now has the EMP, so next fight, they're probably just going to EMP and run in there head first, get an anti-nade for a Kraken. But it looks like Melbourne Mavericks will choose alternate pathing. This is the less common path to go, using the left side. So it should get to a point where they're just facing each other on point, and that's going to be a lot easier for Nyang to get this big EMP off.
Crimson Wolf is at 95%, so if he waits a little bit too long here, Nyang, he may well get caught off guard, and he does perhaps wait too long. He gets the counter EMP out, and it's Joker that goes down early. So, patience is a virtue, apparently, for Sydney Drop Bears. If they start the fight off nicely, Izzy Boy has been isolated.
Yeah, you saw there was a lot of distance still to capture, like between Joker and Dreamer. When that EMP comes out, Melbourne Mavericks still aren't on top and ready to capitalize on that EMP. So when Yang reverses the tables and gets an EMP of himself as Crimson Wolf goes off the map after being hacked, can't translocate. Yeah, you saw that the Drop Bears were ready already and on top of the enemy team when they got that EMP out. So they were able to capitalize on it much faster, and that's what leads them to the fight win. And now they've got big ults on both sides. We've got Mercedes coming up on his Graviton Surge soon, Joker coming up on that Earth Shatter. Izzy Boy does have the nano boost, but the Kraken will match.
That was a bit ballsy from Nyang, just running straight at QVM.
Yeah, they're showing no fear.
Even with the translocator available, still, it's out okay, so no harm done. Sydney Drop Bears, again, have a wealth of ultimates to play with here. It's going to be the Shatter this time, or just the nano boost. The cancel maybe there, or perhaps the block. Regardless, it's a Shatter back from Joker, and that one looks good to me. 3 players down on the floor. None dead just yet. Dreamer being healed back on up, and there is the nano boost coming out onto Joker as they start to push their way forward. The Graviton Surge from Mercedes is going to connect onto nothing but the globe. Shoyos, however, looks to have locked a few players on up. Is there going to be much to follow, though? Dreamer catches QVN with the charge. The rest of the Melbourne Mavericks players are going to try and salvage the situation, but Nyang, he's easily sitting on this EMP. Doesn't look like he's going to need it at all, but if it was even necessary for Sydney Drop Bears, they had that ball back. Melbourne Mavericks, again, are going to be forced away. Well,
he did grab the world, but unfortunately it's just a replica of it, so he didn't actually get anything there, and now Drop Bears have that EMP Earth Shatter combination, but Fluoro really saved the day there with that big beat drop. Joker hits a fat Shatter, but no follow-up because they've all got an extra 1,000 HP.
1 minute 12 for Melbourne Mavericks. Feels as though this has gone very quickly indeed.
Yeah, you wonder where the time went. They had an extra, they captured 1 minute. So now the EMP, oh no, Yang has been found by Crimson Wolf. In fact, he wasn't stealth there.
It's okay. Is he okay though? The EMP comes back across Crimson Wolf. Might have overcommitted. Yang gets the better of it. That's a nice shadow though from Joker, but we've seen a couple from him and they haven't really resulted in a fight win for Melbourne Mavericks. Sydney Drop Bears, they're going to do much the same. The same, of course, for Dreamer. A good shatter. And that'll be a team fight one for Sydney Drop Bears once again. Nyang still hanging on to his EMP. Izzy Boy is going to be staggered here. So that just cuts in extra 10 seconds off.
Yeah, and you can see the problem is being pretty consistent for the side of the Melbourne Mavericks is they're just not in position to take advantage of these EMPs. Like, there's still so much distance between the two main tanks or between the two teams when that EMP comes out. So Sydney Drop Bears get that 1 or 2 second grace period where Melbourne Mavericks are trying to close the gap, and then once that's over, they're able to turn the tides because that EMP is faded.
I don't see how this is going to work for Melbourne Mavericks. This would be a miracle if they win this one. Graviton Surge through, still Nyang with an EMP available. Winter throws the rally in, and well, the only ultimate the Melbourne Mavericks had to play with was the nano boost, which was used by Izzy Boy, but I think you can see for yourself exactly what has happened there. It's just a clean wipe from Sydney Drop Bears.
As soon as that EMP comes out, every time it comes out from Yang on the side of the Sydney Drop Bears, the Drop Bears are ready to charge in there and take advantage of their targets having no abilities. If we're going to look at, that's the difference between the teams at the moment, is the fact that when Crimson Wolf EMPs, his team isn't ready to follow it up. There's a bit of a disjoint, bit of disconnect there, and then when Yang's ready to EMP, the boys are right on top of it, throwing their abilities in, speed boosting on top of them, and really taking advantage of it.
So not a huge task for Sydney Drop Bears. I don't think we've ever seen really a situation like a team where Sydney Drop Bears caliber in a way up against a team like Melbourne Mavericks where they only have to get one tick on point B and it hasn't really occurred. You know what I mean? So this seems to be I will say almost a foregone conclusion in my mind, and that's a very dangerous thing to say as a caster, because now it's immortalized.
Well,
if Melbourne Mavericks full hold A, I'm going to be eating my words. But from what we've seen so far, it does feel unrealistic that that is going to be defendable for Melbourne Mavericks.
Yeah, and it does look like the Melbourne Mavericks are going for this composition that can lend itself to full holds. I mean, they have the Bastion, they have the Widowmaker. These are heroes that can, just get one pick off and then ruin a fight for the side of the Sydney Drop Bears. So maybe there's a chance that it happens, but they'll have to be very disciplined to make it happen, and we haven't seen that discipline yet from the side of the Melbourne Mavericks. They did capture a point, though.
Yeah. One sort of shining light for me for Melbourne Mavericks has been Joker so far. I think he's been having a pretty good performance.
Yeah, he hit some nice shatters there, and that always feels good to hit nice shatters. I'm sure he'll go back and watch the VOD of those and give himself a pat on the back.
Well, and then he'll probably cry because they lost both the fights anyway.
Yep, no, but you just got to focus on the positives.
I suppose. This is why Smash is the #1 Overwatch Contenders manager in Australia that is no longer a manager but is now a caster.
Yep, that's pretty much it. I'd have to agree with you. #1 retiree. The retirement package was fantastic
Bad
too.
luck, Whipley.
Yep, bad luck Whipley, that's right. She'll be back. Sydney Drop Bears now going for a funky 4 DPS composition. Dreamer on the Junkrat. Sending some warning pipes.
Yeah, what is going on here for Sydney Drop Bears?
Oh, Nyang takes out Mercedes as we're seeing.
Should be Resible, I want to say.
Yeah, it should be definitely Resible. But to be honest, I was more interested in Dream. What was he doing? What was the thought process?
What is going on? Sydney Drop Bears taking a leaf out of Melbourne Mavericks book. Oh dear, that's not good. There's no res available either because it was used on Mercedes earlier. Probably still another 10 or 15 seconds before that comes off cooldown, and QVN is going to have to swap off probably to get back to the point quickly enough, although it looks to be, does indeed swap off onto Tracer. Joker's out in no man's land on his own, and I'll be very impressed if he's able to survive here.
He's struggling.
Certainly is struggling, but actually he's still alive. A lot longer than I thought he would. The Fortify comes through as well. In fact, Sydney Drop Bears are having such a difficult time of dealing with Joker. What a bait that was from Melbourne Mavericks. Caught me as well. The res is going to come back across onto Dreamer, and you can have a look at the ultimate charge for Winter now. The Rocket Barrage is available. Could be the nail in the coffin for Melbourne Mavericks. Perhaps not if he is hacked on up, but sooner or later, well, it's going to have to be later rather than sooner, as a hook does come on through. Crimson Wolf gets the pick there.
The Mercy has gone down though on the side of the Melbourne Mavericks, and Yang gets the better of Mercedes once more. These poor boys are stuck on the point. They're getting penned in. Joker with the shield there, keeping himself safe, but how long will he last?
Once this Dragon Strike comes up, it's going to really be difficult times ahead for Melbourne Mavericks. They're going to be forced out of this position. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier for the rest of Sydney Drop Bears to get on top of them. Well, the Dragon Strike does get thrown on through, but Crimson Wolf with the whole hog is going to get Shoyu and Dreamer, so mind that train of thought.
Had the Nano Boost as well, but manages to get 2. Will be enough to steady the ship for now. Yang returns onto QVN. He's gotten a few picks now. That's 3 headshots I've seen out of him.
Yeah, this is
Wins
so
with
much
the Rocket
better.
Barrage is definitely going to be the key to success here, but he's going to have to wait his turn.
Dude, Yang, I don't know what he was on last week, but it was not good. It's certainly much better this week from him. The picks are coming across a lot, and the Rocket Barrage through, comboed with a pile driver, locking everybody up. It's just the 1 kill on a Joker from Winter with the Rocket Barrage. Look at those binds. You do not want to be going through that door at all. Missy Boy unfortunately does run into one of them.
Gotta watch your head, duck your head when you get through that one.
Yeah, I wonder if you could crouch underneath them.
You probably could. Those mines are very buggy in the hitboxes, but we will see the Drop Bears take this first point. So secure to draw at least, but it looks like they'll be swapping over to this 3-3 composition, if I am correct.
Yeah, it looks like they're swapping
Yeah.
off. So this is what we saw Melbourne Mavericks failing to do. They kind of continued to push, and a lot of teams actually have continued to push with what they had on point A into point B. You certainly have been a bit of a critic of that.
None of them have been successful because it is rubbish. The only team that did it successfully was Mind Freak, but it took them something like 3 or 4 minutes to finally get it done. So
Melbourne Mavericks, for their own right, have swapped off the majority of their composition at least.
we'll just see the EMP from QVN. It's the only ultimate on the playing field right now, as Sydney Drop Bears had to swap 6 members over.
Kraken is just being buddied by Fluoro.
Being stalked too by QVN.
Well, I mean, I almost thought a Kraken might be a sitting duck here for QVN, but then Fluoro sort of comes back and just...
My money's on little Daz here.
Yeah.
He's going to cancel this EMP. QVN gets too close.
Yeah, nice sleep. Sleep dart. See it happen. No, doesn't look like that is going to be the case. He got the nade across though, but Nyang will fall to Joker's Fire Strike, and well, it's a bit of a trade back, a 1-for-1. Both Sombras down. Dreamers collected Joker, and now he's in the entire team, even with the Nano Boost. It's not going to be enough to keep that Reinhardt alive. Dreamer has copped a bio nade, which means he can't be healed on backup, and he does go down to Crimson Wolf. But it's looking pretty clean here from Sydney Drop Bears. Lots of kills coming across. Winter's got 3, and that'll be the map. Melbourne Mavericks down 0-2.
Yeah, once you use that EMP as Sombra, especially if you throw your translocator in there, it leaves you very vulnerable, and Dreamer realizes that and chases down QVN, gets him, and then really turns the fight by pinning back into his team, collecting Joker. Even though Joker gets the nano boost, so he's a bit more survivable, he still goes down, and that just opens the fight up for Sydney Drop Bears. They just plow through because both teams were dry on ults, and you don't get enough value off that EMP, and that's it. It's the end of the map.
Boom diada, boom diada. It's 2-0 right now for Sydney Drop Bears. It's a fairly similar feeling to our last series. Warriors 2-0 up over Atletico.
Yep.
We thought, oh man, that series is over.
It was convincing too, just as convincing as this, pretty much.
Yeah, still a second half to play though. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Well, we saw what happened in the last series. We casted. It
Exactly.
was got very close very quickly. This was a nice barrage combination out of Mercedes. They did. Okay, so the thing about Melbourne Mavericks is they did have a few good ult combos there. They struggled with the EMPs on the attack, but for it's good that they showed that they have the basic game understanding to combo these ults together to get value out of it. I've seen other teams struggle with that so far.
Well, other teams are also not 0-14 now. And the only team that is at that point right now is Melbourne Mavericks. So for all the good sort of base groundwork that is there for Melbourne Mavericks, if that exists, it's not proving enough to sort of tussle with the teams that are in Overwatch Contenders Australia right now. So
Yeah, no, I think they've still got a little bit to go.
yeah, definitely, maybe a little bit more than a little bit. But Sydney Drop Bears, this has to sort of shift into a situation now where they're looking for a 4-0, if it wasn't already that at the start of this series. Now with those 2 pretty solid, convincing wins, I think you need a 4-0 today as Sydney Drop Bears to really just sort of get them back into where they want to be on the standings. But obviously, we have reached the halftime point of our series, so it's time for us to have a quick break. But Sydney Drop Bears and Melbourne Mavericks are back after this.